Now that I've got these values from the inserted table, I know what these values are going to look like after that update happens. And so I want to verify that there is a return date, something other than null, because it might have been updated for some other reason. So there's no guarantee that just because there was an update, it actually set the return date to something other than null. So I'm going to stop here and actually ask that question. Is return, right? If return is still null, then I'm not ready to do anything. So because I really only want to update it when I have a return date. So I'm going to do a couple of things in here. I'm going to print out a message that said, no return date yet. Or maybe I can just say movie not returned. So we're not going to be doing anything with it. And then I'm really done. There's nothing to do. So I'm just going to simply return from the trigger, and that's all it's going to do. So it's really just going to test if it's null. So let's go ahead and test this. So here we're doing an update, and I need a new query to do this. Wait, did we run that? Let me execute it. I can't remember if I did or not. Okay, so syntactically it's saying it's correct. So let's go ahead and create a new query. Make sure we're using the right database. And here's an update statement. So there's going to be an update on rental. That's going to access that trigger. I was going to say, okay, here's the trigger. And we're setting rental ID to 12. So let's go ahead and execute that. And it said one row was affected and movie not returned yet. So that's great. Then our null test is working. The next thing we want to test for is if there is already an overdue fee for this rental ID. Remember that the rental ID is the primary key, and so it needs to be unique within the table. We can only have one overdue fee per rental. So to do this, we're going to use if exists, and this allows us then to do a query inside here, and it'll return true if it returned something and false if it didn't return a result. All right, so all we want to do is select all from overdue fee, where rental ID is equal to our variable rental ID, right? The parameter that was sent. Let's go ahead and test this. First we'll spell it right. So we come over here and add a new query. So if exists, rental ID, now this one doesn't know the variable, so let's just make up one. And if we look at the overdue fees, we can tell which ones exist. So we just get the top 1,000 rows. And there's one already for 2, 3, and 6. So let's just go ahead and do 3 and execute it. Oh, this is incomplete. It's an if statement, so we have to do something. So let's print there was already there. Okay, so sure enough, it's already there. Let's pick one that's not in there. So 22. And execute that, and we don't get that message. All right, so this will work for us. We want to do the same thing, similar thing, right? If it exists, then we want to print a message. So we'll print a message overdue fee previously added and return, as there's nothing here that we want to do now, and then we'll end that. And that protects us from another problem that may arise as we insert a new overdue fee.